Hello, great to catch up with everyone. I still owe a video around the tram extensions. So for those who are waiting to pick that video up, I'm slowly working on that. It's going to be slightly bigger than I originally thought. But I guess if you've seen the title, you've probably tuned in to watch something about levelling up rather than me talking about tram extensions. So we've got a new government as of 2 weeks ago today. I think everyone's now got used to that fact. So there's been a lot going on in the world of politics and everyone's getting used to new jobs, new MPs and who does what. And obviously we've had a King's speech this week and the series of different announcements have already been made by the government. They're probably going for their what I would call a 100 days approach, where you try and cram in as many things as you can and show lots of energy and so on. And one of the announcements though that came out was about levelling up, and it really worried me because it talked about it being, this was Angela Rayner, that levelling up was just a gimmick, a phrase. And I was really quite shocked about that, because levelling up is none of those things. If it is, it's a very expensive phrase. We used to hear like that term Northern Powerhouse, and the first thing you do when you create a term, which is not a bad thing because it's like a brand, you then need things to sit under it, and it's about investment in transport or housing and so forth. Levelling up though was slightly different. It wasn't just a term or a phrase or a gimmick. It did actually represent something deeper about inequality. So it was a phrase that started back in the 1850s, 1860s. I think then it came out of religious inequality, I think, between Catholics and Anglicans, and this phrase of trying to level up religious rights. And then Joseph Chamberlain used it, and then obviously it's been picked up at different points through the 20th century, and then in more recent times it became this thing, something very deep. So it basically recognised that we had a problem, and that not just places in the north, for example, or the Midlands had been left behind, but also places within places have been left behind. And Blackpool's a great example of that. I've always said there are two Blackpools. There is one on the shoulder areas, which is access to green spaces. It has a longer life expectancy, people have better incomes, and then you have the reverse of that in the inner wards of Blackpool, that central area, which has lower life expectancy, drug dependency issues, poor health issues, and the poor education attainment, poor housing stock, poor access to parks. And so these two spaces sit next to each other. And what I liked about levelling up was it recognised that the two couldn't keep ignoring each other. Something had to be done. And so we then moved in this journey of the government over the last 4 or 5 years, certainly after COVID, are investing in different schemes that councils put forward. The issue I then had was, in that journey with the government, and it was a concern I think many had, was that some of those bids that were submitted were often the bids that were available. So the deadlines were quite tight on those submissions, and that roughly meant that you were submitting what you had rather than necessarily what you wanted to. And I think that was a sort of a failure of the system, which was they should have sort of given longer periods of time for councils to put the right bid together and submit that. But Blackpool was lucky in a way that the council, give them absolute credit for this, and the council officers, they long recognised roughly where we wanted to go with different projects. We knew what the problem was. So we submitted a series of bids. There was a bid to relocate the courts on Bonny Street, that's the area near Central Pier, very brutalist architecture, and then that would unlock a big investment in Central Car Park. It was also a recognition that Blackpool didn't really have a university, so it was 40 million was given from Levelling Up funds to support the multi-varsity project, which is going up on Cookson Street area, which is that area between the new tram stop and Holiday Inn, and where the Regent is, along there, Regent Cinema. And then the other scheme, most importantly, was the recognition that I think we got 90 million in March to invest in housing stock in Blackpool. And housing has always been the silver bullet, really, to fix a lot of Blackpool's ills. You know, some terrible housing, which means all of those things that we see in terms of the statistics are played out, because no one's going to be happy if you're living in poor housing with damp, no access to a green space, no access to all the things that you would want from life that makes your life that bit happier and allows them to build on other aspects that make you a healthier and happier person. So so moving forwards, we put all those bids in, and we were very lucky. The government supported every one. They even supported a transport project. And then moving that around, you then get to a place where, okay, we've got those bids, which ones would we do next? And I think that's then starts to be the exciting bit, because there was a recognition South Shore definitely needed that money, Bond Street, Waterloo Road areas and so on. That should have been the next real schemes. They should have really been in the first if I'd had my way. But what the government have announced, and this is what worries me, is that that they're obviously getting rid of Levelling Up, and it was just a phrase, a gimmick, and instead what they're going to do is invest in local government, which sounds great. But the bit that worries me is and it was seen by who went to Downing Street on that first Monday. So that was the first Monday after the general election. Keir Starmer invited all the metro mayors down. So he didn't invite council leaders, he invited metro mayors. So these are the leaders of the devolved authorities. They were the people who are, you know, Andy Burnham's, Sadiq Khan of London, the metro mayor of Birmingham, or West Midlands I should say. So these are the people who had devolved deals and said, we're going to invest in you. My worry though is, well, where were the council leaders? Where were the people who were already delivering through their councils projects to regenerate those left behind places? And my worry is, and this was played out a bit in the in the local press, because I've written an article about this, and Chris Webb through the Gazette had replied, which was great. It was good to hear his view. Chris Webb is the MP for Blackpool South, the new Labour MP for Blackpool South, and he said, well, a lot of this money hadn't been spent properly nationally, and locally, you know, we need a mayor of Lancashire, and it was basically, again, it makes me suspicious that we're being pushed into a devolved area based around the solution being more devolution, i.e. powers going to a Lancashire authority. The problem with that is, I can't see how Lancashire would agree to that, and certainly all the other district authorities there, they've been arguing and discussing devolution, and a deal was put together, but that took 10 years, and that deal is sort of pending, but it doesn't involve a mayor. It would have to be renegotiated. So we're almost losing time. If the government's answer is to invest in projects via devolution, then where does an authority like Blackpool or Preston or anywhere that doesn't have a devolved deal go? And what happens to the left behind? Because Levelling Up was a 15-year journey. It was a generational change, way outside any election spec. So we need to make sure that Levelling Up continues in terms of our acknowledgement, that a recognition that we do have these vast areas of places that do have great inequalities and absolutely must be invested in. So the recognition of that, but also the fact that we're going to focus on, well, where's the money going to come from? We need a plan somewhere that says this is how we're going to address those housing concerns, those lack of green spaces in the centre of Blackpool. How do we deal with loneliness? How do we address all the wants and needs that the people have? We're in that, because if we wait for devolution to be the answer, then we'll be waiting a long time, I suspect, and we'll move further and further behind. So those are just my initial thoughts, and I'll put down the article that I've written below in the comments. I think it should allow me the space to do that. Let me know what you think. It's something I'm going to keep pushing for. We can't forget the Waterloos, Bond Streets, those parts of Blackpool that have been neglected and ignored for a long time. We absolutely need an investment plan, and be that levelling up or even our own local version of levelling up. But the concept of levelling up was so not a gimmick, and unfortunately we won't see the benefits of those schemes that did get through, and it was over 180 million the government gave them for our schemes, that they'll then eventually play out, which is great, but it needed a whole lot more, and it should just be the start, not the end, and that's how levelling up should be assessed as well as remembered, but crucially kept alive. So thank you for watching. Love to hear your thoughts, and I will do the video on the tram extensions. I am working on it. I want to try and put some graphics in as well, and I just need to go and visit some of the spaces as well, so I want to do it properly. Anyway, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will speak to you soon.